Hello everyone. Today's video is about the 3 thieves of your happiness and how to arrest them. In the event that you can figure out how to acknowledge things as they are and appreciate what you have, you can make the way for a seriously fulfilling experience. The late evening sun radiated in warm and splendid as my 3 youngsters played joyfully on the floor. They were getting along pleasantly as they fabricated a twisting track for Thomas the Tank Engine and his companions. It was an ideal second, yet I was hopeless. As my kids played, I scowled on the love seat, deploring that I was unable to appreciate this time. I was unable to be cheerful in light of the fact that I was available to come in to work for a medical procedure. The emergency clinic could call me at any second, and that information loomed over me like the sword of Damocles. It felt ridiculous to me. Others don't need to be available to come in to work on Sunday. It shouldn't be this way. I was hopeless in the midst of an ideal chance to be with my youngsters since I was persuaded conditions should have been unique. I thought I required something more to be upbeat, however what I required wasn't more. What I required was less. I expected to surrender the 3 things holding me back from being content and appreciating the moment. Contentment is characteristic riches, extravagance is fake neediness. Joy is exaggerated. Why? Basic, you can't look after it. That jubilant inclination is extraordinary while it keeps going. Yet, that is the issue, it doesn't last. That is the reason you need to move your concentration to satisfaction. Happiness is maintainable. Happiness implies realizing you have enough and that you are sufficient. Realizing that in spite of the fact that everything as of now may not be great, you can approve of that. Satisfaction can be yours today. In contrast to joy, you needn't bother with anything outer to happen to accomplish satisfaction. All things considered, you need to relinquish 3 convictions that hold you back from being content here and at this moment. Capture these 3 criminals, and you can encounter happiness beginning today. The 3 thieves of contentment. To be cheerful, we need an outer decent to happen. Satisfaction is a feeling that we experience when something happens that fulfills us. Satisfaction is an inner state. We needn't bother with anything to happen to us to be content. All things considered, we need to change our inward state to permit us to encounter the satisfaction that is now inside us. To do that, we need to relinquish 3 things that block our being content: the longing for additional, examination, and the conviction that things should some way or another be extraordinary. The desire for more, better, or someday. The explanation that blocks you from being content is, the point at which I get blank, at that point I will be cheerful. It shows your conviction that you need something outside of yourself to feel satisfied. You can fill in the clear with cash, advancement, love, vehicle, house, unendingly. What's more, that is the genuine issue. The rundown of things that can fill in that clear is perpetual. Regardless of the amount you have, there will consistently be something more you think you need. Try not to trust me? Go for a stroll through your home and take a gander at all you have. Consider every one of your triumphs throughout everyday life. Consider every one of the loved ones around you. All that you have today is something that you once trusted you totally must be glad. However, the chances are, you underestimate these things today and dream of what you need to have later on. The issue with more is that it resembles a medication. On the off chance that I give you $100, it will satisfy you, yet for how long? Before adequately long, you'll have gone through that cash and the bliss the bonus brought. You will be searching for the following beneficial thing to end up satisfying you for another short, gleaming second. Wouldn't it be better in the event that you could value what you possess and be content with the existence you have? Satisfaction is about enough. The acknowledgement you are sufficient, simply the manner in which you are. The arrangement that you don't should be much else or have anything better. Happiness is the information that what your identity is and what you have is sufficient. It is a very freeing understanding. The most effective method to defeat the more thief. Remember your good fortune. Happiness goes to the individuals who value what they have. Check out every one of the decency that encompasses you. I take a gander at my home, which is more modest and less extravagant than a large number of my universities. At that point I recall the main home my better half and I shared. It was a minuscule cinderblock loft. Uninsulated, it was freezing in the colder time of year. In the late spring, dampness dense on the hard, solid floor, making the rug develop rotten. I consider how far I have come, and I am content. Advise yourself that all that you have today was once just a fantasy. Attempt to value those endowments as the more youthful variant of you would do. At that point, be substance to realize that what you as of now have is sufficient. The comparison to others. Out traveling from Colorado to Disneyland in LA, I drove my family down the Las Vegas Strip. I let my youngsters wonder about the extravagant gambling clubs and their alluring showcases. At lunch, I asked them where they thought the gambling clubs got their cash. Obviously, the appropriate response is all the money individuals lost betting in the club. The players would like to become super wealthy, yet the gambling clubs stacked the standards in the house's courtesy. Eventually, the players lose. My last exercise for my youngsters was, the point at which the game is manipulated against you. The best way to win isn't to play. The correlation game is additionally a game manipulated to guarantee you lose. You can remain in your carport and see one neighbor who has a greater house, another keeps a superior vehicle in the carport, and the third has a pool. Contrast yourself with any of these neighbors, and you lose. That is all right in light of the fact that when your neighbors contrast themselves with you, they likewise flop here and there. There is no maintaining a strategic distance from the way that we will consistently come out the washout when contrasting ourselves with others. Everybody is superior to you by one way or another, yet you are additionally better compared to every other person in some alternate manner. The best way to win isn't to play. Plus, regardless of whether you improved vehicle than every one of your neighbors, it would just involve time before one of them overhauls, and afterward where will you be? There is no triumphant in the examination game on the grounds that the goal line is continually moving away from you. The best way to win isn't to play. The most effective method to defeat the comparison thief. Inquire as to whether you will follow through on the cost to have what another person has. Do you need the higher home loan installment that accompanies a greater house? Would you like to go through our 7 days cleaning and really focusing on the pool? Would you put in the additional time hours that an advancement would require? Be certain when you contrast your circumstance with another person's that you are taking a gander at the total picture. It's not difficult to zero in on the potential gain, yet remember to factor in the secret expense. Each one of those things that look so captivating convey their very own expense. Be certain you will pay that secret expense before you go aching for what another person has. Indeed, an extravagant new vehicle would be pleasant. However, proceeding to drive my 14-year-old minivan implies I have the cash to go on my family on outings. I would not surrender those encounters for another vehicle installment. The belief that things need to be different. The conviction that things should be diverse before you can be glad keeps you away from being content. The world is certainly not an ideal spot. Your life isn't amazing by the same token. What's more, neither of those things at any point will be awesome. The assumption for flawlessness is ridiculous, and the quest for unreasonable objectives is bound to fall flat and deny you of your significant serenity. The conviction that you can't be content until things are as you might suspect they ought to be is the third hoodlum of happiness. Happiness comes from tolerating things as they are. This doesn't mean putting on rose-hued glasses and accepting we live in the best of every conceivable world. We should be mindful to the flaws in our reality. As opposed to making ourselves hopeless by combating against them, we need to figure out how to acknowledge things as they are. This isn't equivalent to favoring of them. What we oppose will in general continue. When we acknowledge things as they are, we can see them precisely, get them, and adequately change them. The most effective method to defeat the thief of things needing to be different. Tolerating things that need changing has been a difficult thought for me. So let me attempt a model. I disdain myself for glutting on treats at work. In any case, detesting myself for accomplishing something I knew wasn't right didn't change my conduct. At the point when I acknowledged this disappointment in myself, I acquired a significant understanding. I discovered that I will in general gorge sweats when I am accessible if the need arises, working into the evening, and on ends of the week. It isn't hunger I am feeling at those occasions, however the depression of being irritated from my family. Tolerating my disappointment gave me understanding into the difficult that made it workable for me to change. It is a conundrum, yet when we acknowledge what is, similarly all things considered, really at that time would we be able to make changes. Acknowledgement doesn't suggest endorsement. It is a method of coming to harmony with what could be better. At that point, when we act from a position of harmony and persistence, we can accomplish significant and enduring change. Acknowledgement should start things out. That day on the lounge chair in the sun with my 3 youngsters playing cheerily before me, I understood something. No, the conditions were not awesome. Indeed, I could be interfered with any second, however I wasn't being hindered at that point. At that point, everything was acceptable. Not awesome, yet adequate. I understood that I could appreciate the time I had in the event, that I just quit ruminating on how it very well may be better. I slid down off the love seat and joined my kids on the floor. They were excited to have Daddy join their game, and we labored for an hour to develop a detailed world for Thomas and his companions. As we played, I got ingested in the experience and overlooked being accessible if the need arises. I lost myself at the time, and at that time, everything was adequate. I was content. End. To be content is the genuine way to enduring joy. To be upbeat, don't seek after satisfaction. All things considered, come to acknowledge that what you have and what your identity is sufficient, not awesome, however adequate. You won't ever have all that you need. Your reality won't ever be great. However, in the event that you can figure out how to acknowledge things as they are and appreciate what you have, you can make the way for a seriously fulfilling experience. Satisfaction can be yours today. You don't have to add anything to your life. All things being equal, the way to a more substance life is through eliminating the longing for additional correlation with others, and the conviction that things ought to appear as something else.